and this video I'm going to show you how you can create a ECS cluster, and this is the architecture I'm going to implement hands-on with you. Let's dive in. What we're trying to do is basically we are trying to run an application in container, and for that container to host you need an infrastructure, right? So that infrastructure is ECS cluster. So ECS cluster is a logical grouping of tasks and services that run on an infrastructure registered to your cluster. All right. When you deploy a container, basically you execute a task. Task is created by a task definition. You can create task definition from the UI, or you can provide a JSON file to create that task definition. When you want to execute the task, you need actually service. But all of these, where it is coming actually. So basically all the infrastructure comes from the cluster launch type. So launch type can be EC2. You can choose from the UI. AWS is going to launch EC2 instance for your cluster. Okay. Another launch type is Fargate. So this AWS handles all your EC2 demand, okay, including the patching and all of these maintenance work AWS takes care of for you, and this is basically a serverless option you can call, okay. Then third launch type is external ECS anywhere. Let's say you have a ECS cluster running in AWS, but you want to run a task in on-premise system as well, and you are running infrastructure in hybrid mode. So the on-premise data center is connected to the AWS cloud. So you're running in a hybrid mode, you have a instance or you have a virtual machines running in on-premises or server running in on-premises. You want to include that in your ECS cluster. This is the launch type you can go for. There are setup required, and that instance will be added to your ECS cluster. Okay, now we understood the launch type and then infrastructure we need to run a container in ECS cluster. All right. So now when you create a ECS cluster, basically you choose the launch type, but AWS actually create a EC2 instance, and that EC2 instance has a ECS agent and the Docker container runtime as well, right? Each and every EC2 instance. But let me tell you the confusion here. So when you learn and work with ECS, there are some terminologies, it is confusing. In ECS world, we don't call as a EC2 instance when it is part of the cluster or AWS created for your cluster. So in ECS world, we call it as a container instance. Everything else is fine. So we don't call EC2 instance when it is part of the ECS cluster. Now inside the ECS cluster, we have to define a task definition. Okay, this is a JSON file, or you can create it from the UI. That task definition actually helps you to create a task. Okay, so you can execute a single task. Let's say you are running a batch job, you can execute just that job as a task and finishes maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hour, it doesn't matter. So it's a single task. It has a start and end. But when you want to execute a task for 24/7, let's say you're executing your web server, it's going to be running 24/7. You're running your application, which is 24/7. So for that same task, if you want to make it a 24/7 running applications, you define a service. So service helps you to create 24/7 task. It takes care of all the things it is required to run a task 24/7. Now we know that you need a ECS cluster. Then when you create a cluster, then next step would be create a task definition, because if you don't have task definition, you cannot create a service. So the first step, cluster, then task definition, then you create a service, and service takes input the task definition and execute that task. All right. So let me go to the console and execute all the steps what we have discussed now. Okay, so let me show you the steps as well. First, we are going to create a cluster, and then we are going to create a task definition, then we're going to create a service. So service takes input as a task definition file and pull the image from the, in this case, Amazon ECR public library. You can pull the image from other sources as well, like Docker has Docker Hub, and Nginx also has their own site. So you can pull that image from the library or Amazon ECR public library, and service actually pull the image from Amazon ECR public library in this case, but you can pull that image from other provider as well. and then it takes the task definition and execute that task. And another thing, when we have a tasks running by the service, so user from the internet or internally can access the task from that IP assigned to that task. It may be public IP, you can access from outside. If it is a private, then you won't be able to access it from outside. This is the example task definition. So this is a JSON file. It's very simple. This is creating the Nginx web server. Okay. And there is a security group in front of that task. So this security group will allow you to access that task public IP from outside. Let me go to the console and demonstrate you the cluster creation. So if you go to AWS console and go to ECS, let me search ECS here. So Elastic Container Service, and if you go there and you see left side, you have all of these options. So the options we are going now is a clusters. So we are going to create a cluster. Clusters, create cluster, and name the cluster. Maybe I'm gonna name my project as a Apollo ECS cluster. Okay, and we are not choosing any service connect defaults. Okay, and as I said before, there are 3 capacity type. You can obtain compute capacity 3 ways. This is the easiest one, and this is the one I'm going to show you, because when you're starting ECS first time, I would recommend start with this, then you try other 2 options. If you choose this option, so this option, you have to manage EC2 instance on your own, including patching. Okay, but if you choose this option, Fargate and manage instances, ECS will manage instances for you. Only thing is you can have more configuration options. Okay, and this is the easiest option. AWS will manage everything for you: underlying infrastructure, scaling, patching, everything. Okay, so this is the option we're gonna go now. Monitoring, we are not doing anything now. Encryption, we are not, and tags we are ignoring. Create cluster. So now as cluster is being created, okay, now we're gonna create a task definition, which is second step, because if you don't create task definition, you cannot create service. So let's create a new task definition. Here it is, and I'm gonna name it is like Apollo task Nginx, and this task definition actually is going to create Nginx web servers, and launch type AWS Fargate. So easiest option we have selected. You can also go for managed instances and Amazon EC2 instances as well. Okay, this is like you are managing everything, patching and everything, and this is you have more configuration options. Okay, so we are going for AWS Fargate only, and CPU, I'm reducing that CPU to 0.5 to reduce cost. 1 GB memory, that's a task size. When it execute a task, this is the resource is going to allocate. And role, you can give it a default role what is created. It was created before, so this is the roles you can assign. Task placement, we are not going for that. Fault injection, we are not going for that. And container details, I'm gonna say Nginx container. Okay, and essential container, yes. Image URI, this is the critical part. Go to Google and search for AWS ECR public gallery. If you search that, this is the first link comes. You go there and here you search Nginx. Okay, Nginx. When I search, I also choose that verified option, so it verifies the account and gives you the authentic and working container image. So if I select this, this is the Nginx coming, and this is the one. 5.6 billion downloads. So let me go for this and copy this image. Now I'm pasting this image. You can also browse ECR image if you have a private ECR configured and you have your personal image for your project. So private registry authentication, because we are not using the private registry ECR, we don't need that private registry authentication. Container port 80 is fine. Protocol TCP. Container port name is maybe main 80 TCP, and HTTP is a protocol. Read-only root file system, we don't need it. Resource allocation limit, so 1 CPU, 3 GB of memory, and memory soft limit 1, that's fine. Environmental variables, we don't need it. Add individually, we don't need that. Add from file, so I'm going for rest of the configuration by default. We don't have to do a thing. Okay, so restart policy, health check, all of these I'm not touching them. Okay, let it be default and hit create. So this is creating the task definition. So we have completed second step, task definition. First one was the cluster, second one was the task definition, and third step we have to create a service. So how do we create service? We go to cluster and select the cluster, and you see the services tab here. You create service. So if when you create a service, definitely provide this task definition what we created earlier. Revision 1, this is the first version. Service name Apollo task, this is by default, let it be. And environment capacity, provide strategy, launch type. I'm gonna go with capacity provider strategy. Use custom advanced, so Fargate, oh, let it be fine, whatever it says by default it's okay. Platform version, monitoring configuration, we don't need that. So deployment configuration, replica is fine. Deployment options, let me see, ECS, that's okay. Deployment failure detection, let it be default. Networking, this is where we need to work on. Networking, by default it chose that default VPC, and all of the subnets it's selected, minimum 3 for high availability, it's recommended. Use existing security group, no, I'm gonna create a new one. So the new one is ECS Apollo SG. Okay, this is the new one, and create an ECS console. Port range is 80, source from anywhere. Can you guess which one is this security group? I'm talking about this security group. This is the security group I'm configuring so that I can access it from outside world, from the internet to the container. Means Nginx running in the container. Okay, so this security group configured, and the rest all be default. I'm not touching them. Discovery, balancing, lattice, service, auto scaling, we are not doing here. Volume, no. Tags, skipping, create. So give it a time. Service is being created. That means what? It's actually took downloading that image and took the task definition and creating the service, and we can access the service from internet. Okay, let me pause this video until this is completed. Oh, looks like service is created now. Let me see. Yeah, there you go. So go to the cluster again, click on the cluster and click on the service. Okay, I'm going and reaching to the task level. Okay, service. Now in the service there is a task, and inside that task you click on the task and you will see the network bindings, and this is the public IP of that container. Okay, and go to this page and http://that IP, remove that port 80. There we go. So Nginx service is running in the container. Okay, I hope you like this video, and if you got time, join me in the next. Peace.